Hello everyone, this is Pratima, Faculty of Physiology, Next Fellow, and today we are going to learn about cell membrane, its structure and function. Cell is structural and functional unit of all the living organisms, and in case of animals, the cell membrane surrounds the protoplasm, that is the cytoplasm, which contain various cell organelles. Various theories were proposed to explain the structure of cell membrane, and out of all, the fluid mosaic model by Singer and Nicholson, which was proposed in 1972, was widely accepted. According to this theory, cell membrane is a dynamic structure which has proteins incorporated between the lipid bilayer. Cell membrane is also called as plasma membrane or biological membrane. Its thickness is 7.5 to 10 nanometers and it consists of 55% of the proteins, 42% lipids, and the type of lipids include phospholipids 25%, cholesterol 13% and other lipids 4%. 3% are contributed by carbohydrates. So let us start with the lipid part. The cell membrane is called as lipid bilayer. So there are two layers of lipid, and this lipid bilayer is formed mainly by phospholipids. As name suggests, phospholipids, they have two parts in it. The phosphate moiety in the phospholipid portion is hydrophilic in nature and they occupy the peripheral parts and they are globular in nature. Whereas lipid moiety is hydrophobic in nature and it forms tail of the lipid bilayer, a tail of the phospholipid. So these tails occupy central portion in the membrane. As you can see in this picture, this is the phosphate moiety present on the peripheral aspect and the lipid moiety present on the central aspect of the bilayer. So because of hydrophobic interaction, it also helps in self-healing process if it gets injured. So this is how lipid bilayer is formed. So hydrophilic portion of one end, hydrophilic portion of the other end facing exterior as well as interior of the cell, and the tail portion occupies the central portion. Another type of lipid in the cell membrane is called as lecithin, or which is also called as phosphatidylcholine. Now this is the actually major surfactant lipid which is present in the lungs and usually expressed only on the outer surface of the cell membrane. This phosphatidylcholine or lecithin is deficient, it will result into respiratory distress syndrome. Another type of membrane lipid is called as sphingomyelin and it is mainly found in neurons, and it is also the component of minor component of surfactant lipids. So if the ratio of lecithin to sphingomyelin is more than or equal to 2, it indicates adequate fetal lung maturity. The next type of lipid is called as phosphatidylserine, and it is normally present only on the inner aspect of the cell membrane. Externalization of this phosphatidylserine acts as apoptotic signals. So, if this phosphatidylserine expresses itself on the outer surface of the cell membrane, the cell initiates the signals which will make it prone for apoptosis. And this phosphatidylserine can combine with annexin 5 and that can be easily detected. So, it is one of the important tests done in research to find out whether the cells are undergoing apoptosis or not by annexin 5 assay. The next important membrane lipid is phosphatidylinositol, which is also called as inositol triphosphate IP3, and it is important second messenger system. Next type of lipid is cardiolipin, which is found abundant in cardiac muscle, and it is the major component of cardiac mitochondria. Anticardiolipin antibodies will be detected by VDRL test during in case of syphilitic patients with Treponema pallidum infection. Cholesterol is the next component of the lipid, and it is dissolved in lipid bilayer and constitutes 13% of the total membrane lipids. It determines membrane permeability to water soluble substances and regulates fluidity of the cell membrane. So, please pay attention over here. Cholesterol does not increase or decrease the fluidity, but it will decide the inherent fluidity of a particular cell membrane, whereas linoleic acid will increase the fluidity. Now, coming to the cell membrane proteins. Proteins constitute 55% of the total cell membrane, and the concentration of proteins vary from cell to cell. Also, its concentration vary from time to time because of either upregulation or downregulation of various proteins. Usually, proteins are found in higher concentration in presynaptic membrane, in initial segment of the axon in case of motor neuron where action potential is generated or originated, also in nodes of Ranvier and inner mitochondrial membrane. Protein content is maximum in inner mitochondrial membrane, and which accounts for about 70 to 73% of total. Proteins are in very low concentration in Schwann cells and oligodendrocytes, which are concerned with myelination. There are two types of membrane proteins. First type is called as integral proteins, and as you can see in this picture, they span the cell membrane through and through, either completely or partially. There are different functions assigned to these integral proteins. For example, they can act as channels like sodium channels, potassium channels, chloride channels, etc. One type of channel is called as CFTR channel, which is cystic fibrosis transmembrane regulator, and it regulates opening of chloride channels. And mutations in this channel results into cystic fibrosis. Integral proteins also acts as pump, and example is sodium potassium pump or hydrogen pump. They also act as carrier protein like GLUT, which are glucose transporter, which transport glucose by facilitated diffusion into the cell, or integral proteins also can act as receptors. The most common type of receptors are the G protein coupled receptors, and they play important role in second messenger system or in cellular signaling pathway. Peripheral proteins are also called as intrinsic proteins, and they do not penetrate the cell membrane through and through. They are attached either on the interior aspect or the outer aspect of the cell membrane. As you can see in this picture, they are attached to the integral protein from the interior aspect. They can subserve the function, they can act as enzymes or regulatory proteins. For example, DAF protein, and DAF is nothing but decay accelerating factor. It is GPI linked protein, and it recognizes basically C3b and C4b complement complexes. This DAF prevents activation of the C3 and C4 complex, and thus prevents amplification of these complement cascade, and in turn prevents or blocks the formation of membrane attack proteins. Any mutations in this GPI protein causes reduced expression of DAF proteins and leads to paroxysmal nocturnal hemoglobinuria, resulting in anemia, and there will be episodes of dark colored urine. Peripheral proteins also act as supporting protein or supportive proteins. For example, in case of RBC, the protein spectrin, it gives support to the RBC membrane, and it is responsible for concave shape of RBCs. Similarly, in RBC there is another protein called as ankyrin. In case of skeletal muscle, it forms the skeletal protein, and for example it is dystrophin, and any mutation in this dystrophin will lead to Duchenne's muscular dystrophy. Now coming to the carbohydrates, there are 3% carbohydrates in the cell membrane, and carbohydrates are usually in the form of either glycoproteins or glycolipids. As you can see in this picture, this brown color moieties are the carbohydrates. If they are attached to the proteins, they are called as glycoproteins, and if they are attached to the cell membrane lipid portion, they are called as glycolipids. They form a loose layer of carbohydrates on the outer aspect of the cell membrane, and this layer is called as glycocalyx. It has negative charge on its surface, and therefore it helps in prevention of interaction with negatively charged particles like platelets as well as clotting factors, thus prevent activation of them. Glycocalyx also help in formation of cell to cell adhesion because of glycocalyx interaction. It also plays important role in immune reaction. Some important carbohydrates we will discuss. First is gangliosides. It is a type of glycolipid. GM1 gangliosides is responsible for neuronal plasticity as well as neuronal repair mechanisms. Their concentration, GM1 glycosides also release neurotrophins, and they act as receptors for cholera toxin as well as E. coli heat labile enterotoxin. High levels of GM1 antibodies are seen in Guillain-Barré syndrome, in dementia as well as in lupus. GM1 gangliosides, if there this increased level of GM1 gangliosides GM1 gangliosides are usually elevated if the enzyme galactosidase is defective, because this is the enzyme which breaks down GM1 gangliosides. So, because of defective galactosidase, there is accumulation of GM1 and that leads to progressive neuronal degeneration in central nervous system. GM1 gangliosides are usually elevated if the enzyme galactosidase is defective, because this is the enzyme which breaks down GM1 gangliosides. So, because of defective galactosidase, there is accumulation of GM1 and that leads to progressive neuronal degeneration in central nervous system. So, let us summarize the functions of cell membrane. Cell membrane acts as selectively permeable barrier. It helps in transport of various substances because of presence of integral proteins in it. It helps in regulation of cellular reactions, and this function is observed because of integral as well as peripheral proteins which act as enzymes as well as receptors. Cell membrane is protective in nature because negatively charged glycocalyx layer prevents activation of particles like platelets as well as clotting factors. Cell membrane recognizes immune reaction. Again, this is a function due to glycocalyx. It helps in cell adhesion. Again, the function of glycocalyx. It helps in impulse transmission, and this function is because of various types of protein channels present in them, especially the sodium channels and the potassium channels. Cell membrane is a site for cellular communication, for example, because of gap junctions, and it plays a role in endocytosis as well as exocytosis, where the vesicles which are budded off or vesicles which fuse with the cell membrane they become the part of cell membrane. So, cell membrane plays important role in this exocytosis as well as endocytosis process. So, this is all for this session. Thank you.